Well, today I've come to the seaside resort of Lyme Regis on the south coast of Dorset. A popular holiday resort. Thought you'd like to see these shots before I go up to the cemetery. And then looking out eastwards, it's the cliffs in the distance there. Very popular spot. This is the cemetery in Lyme Regis. I noticed a number of the crosses have the figure of Christ on the cross. This one is for Alan Reginald Lee, aged 70, who died in 1940. This one to Winifred Nicol, who died in 1956. And here's one to Mary McCole, 1957. There are quite a number of these with the figure of Christ on the cross. This one is facing the road. There's a figure here of a gentleman in a robe, possibly a monk, and he has some birds at his feet that he's feeding. The inscription is to Lucy Cave, daughter of John Greenwood and the wife of Lawrence Trent Cave, 1928. Up in the top corner here is this tall obelisk, and the inscription is to the Reverend Abraham, probably Hoyland or something similar, 1862. Interestingly, you can see a square patch in the stone, and I imagine that was put in by the original stonemason, but he fitted it so you couldn't see the repair when the time it was done. But of course, over the decades, a century plus, his repair is now standing out. It looks to be of the same age as the main stone because the inscription just reads directly across it. So here we see evidence of a repaired block of stone. Must have had some blemish in it originally. This is a very elaborate design on the face of the cross with lilies carved into the stonework. And then more directly behind is more wonderful carving. We've got the broken column signifying a life cut short, and then we've got the anchor at the bottom there. A lot of work for the stonemasons to do to carve out that rope. As we pan across the graveyard, you can see the town of Lyme behind, and then you can glimpse the sea, the south coast. This tall column in the pink marble stands in a sizable plot. The inscription tells us that it was for William Porter, 1894, Susan his wife, and William Jr. It doesn't tell us what William Porter did. It tells us nothing about him except for his dates. A rather fancy shape on this stone. Elizabeth Hallett, who departed this life December 1898, aged 62. And then there's Nettie Ruby Hallett, grandchild of the above, who fell asleep December 1901, aged 3 years and 4 months. Interesting shape of that stone. Another uncommon design of stone, the cross with the arch going round the outside, and on the bottom we can see it's for William Wood. This one to memory of my grandparents, Mary Ann Knight, 1805, translated. It's an interesting way of putting it. Translated the 30th of April 1877. and beneath that we've got John Knight, and then their children, the mother of the person who put the stone up, and more details as we go down. Now if you can hear the twittering of the bird song in the background in these trees here, they are goldfinch. There's quite a group of them up in the trees there. You'll also hear in the background sometimes wood pigeons and of course seagulls, as we're so close to the sea. This one here, covered with the ivy, has a metal plaque at the base. Not very common. In loving memory of Ellen Mary, the wife of Arthur F. Usher. And she died here at Lyme Regis in 1920. Often these plates don't last. They get vandalised, get taken off the stones. So it's unusual to find one that's complete like this. If you can hear the sound of machinery, then it's the caretaker down there at the bottom there with his mower, keeping the cemetery tidy. There you can see the small chapel. When the cemetery was built, there were 2 chapels in operation, as was normal. One for the Church of England, and the others for what were known as the dissenters, or the non-conformists. Nowadays there is only 1 chapel remaining in use. This is very unusual, and it looks almost fragile. But having said that, it seems to be standing after many decades. The fern leaves have been carved out of this block of stone. This one stands here on a large stone plinth and still has some of its iron railings remaining. I'm having trouble deciphering the inscription. It seems to be Cream Hughes Ingram, only son, and then down the bottom here there's something about died at Eton College in 1860 something. So it looks like the first name is Cream or Greem Hughes Ingram. You can probably still hear the machinery in the background as the caretaker goes about his work. A pair of stones here, quite unusual in their designs, sort of Celtic cross and then 2 individual crosses each side. The one on the left is Mark Wiscombe, and this one over here seems to be Lily Lovelace. One assumes, because they're next to each other and of similar design, not the same, that they are related families. Now I know there's a number of war graves in the cemetery, but this is a memorial to a particular group of those men. On the base we read, this is the crew of HMS Formidable, sunk by torpedo attack, a German submarine in 1915. And there we have 6 names: a petty officer, 4 stokers who would have been down low in the ship and therefore had little chance to survive when it goes down, and then Bernard A. de P. Smythe, boy, age 17. I noticed here there are 4 of the war memorials. Unfortunately we're very close to the chap working hard to cut the grass, but we'll have a look at the 4 inscriptions. This one is to Warrant Officer H.F. Searle, navigator in a bomber, Royal Air Force, 1944, aged 35. This one to Private W.C.H. Cook, the Dorsetshire Regiment, 1942, aged 37. Aircraftsman First Class, WFA Jefford, Royal Air Force, 13th of May 1942, aged 18. And the family have put on the bottom there, in loving memory of our dear son, gone but not forgotten. And then one more down here. Try and avoid tripping over this curbstone. Flying Officer W.J. Hay, a pilot in the Royal Air Force, 1942, aged 25. And the family have added at the bottom, treasured memories of my darling husband resting where no shadows fall. So there are 4 memorials from the Second World War. I'm now moving further into the cemetery, and yet more memorials. This one stands out because of the size of it and the white marble, the engraving on the top and the gold lettering. Rita Ivy Good, a devoted wife and mother, died in 1990. And then Edward Ernest, her dearest husband, father and grandfather, who died in 2020. This one to Cecil A.F. Wiscombe, beloved husband and father, 1993. And at the top you can see the symbols for the Masons, the compass and the square. The name on this one indicates an origin probably in Italy, Stuart Giotto Bagnoli. And beneath that we've got a fossil carved into the stone. Now Lyme Regis is known as the Jurassic Coast and is one of the most famous places for picking the fossils out of the cliff face as it slowly collapses as the sea erodes it. It's a good place to come if you're into fossicking. Now I've come further into the cemetery, and there's another area where the modern burials are. Very peaceful spot. This war grave is on its own in the graveyard, away from the other war graves. Leading aircraftsman A.J. Wheeler, Royal Air Force, October 47, aged just 20 years old. There's one here, the mower in the background I'm afraid. S.H. Crabb, leading seaman, HMS Prince of Wales, 1917, aged 29. Another war grave. The stone on this seems to be wearing a bit, which is unusual for the CWGC memorials, but still readable. A.G. Hodder, Petty Officer First Class, HM Submarine E11, 1915, age 36. And then if I look to the right, there's a memorial to other members of the family. Our beloved father, John Davy Hodder, who fell asleep in 1952, age 71. And then presumably his wife below, Mary Ellen Smith. And this one to Staff Sergeant S.E. Powell, Royal Army Service Corps, September 1919, age 43. And while we're here, I'll just take you to the one behind. This is a large statue of an angel, wings unfurled, dropping flowers. The memorial is Evangeline R. Larkham, the beloved wife of Ralph Larkham. Well, that's my visit to the cemetery here in Lyme Regis in Dorset. Lovely day here. Well worth a visit if you're coming to Lyme Regis. So, Till the next time.